Hello, today I'd like to show you how to make a simple rose, ideal for wedding cakes and also a nice size for cupcakes. So to make the rose, I'm going to use our large Christmas rose set, and I'm using the flower out of this set. I'm also using the Renshaw flower paste, and I've coloured a small piece pink. And you'll need a sponge pad, a cocktail stick, and a ball tool, a small palette knife and a rolling pin, and a water brush. And when the flower's been made, I'm going to paint a calyx on the back using alcohol and a dark green dust colour. And I'm going to dust the centre of the flower with a darker shade of pink than the paste over here. I'm going to need a number 6 and a number 3 paintbrush, a small pot of water, and a small pot of vegetable shortening. In the UK we call it Trex, and a piece of kitchen paper to work over. So the first thing we need to make is a cone for the flower to go on, and I use a cocktail stick. I like to use cocktail sticks because I can push them into the cake, and they're food graded, they don't have any preservatives on them. And I use these instead of wires, but obviously if you want to wire the spray, then you would attach this cone onto a 24 gauge wire. And to make the cone, you start off with a small piece of flower paste. Now this can be any colour because you don't actually see the cone when the flower's made. So this can be any of the old pieces that you have left over from projects, into a ball, into a cone, and then dip a cocktail stick or a toothpick into water and insert that into the wide end of the cone and leave that to dry overnight so it's nice and firm. And then you would make 3 layers of petals. So I'm going to roll out a little of the pink flower paste and rub some of the shortening onto the non-stick board and roll out the paste. But don't lift it up and down. It's important that that sticks down onto the board to get a good contact. So it's very easy then to just flick the cutter away. And the paste should be thin. And large enough area to cut out the 3 layers. So press firmly around the outside edge of the cutter. And a little flick just to remove it, and then remove the surplus paste from around the flowers. Put the paste back in the bag because it does dry out quite quickly, and lift each flower onto the sponge pad. And then using a bone tool, I'm just going to soften around the outside edge. And it's important that you just catch the cut edge on this and not the inner part of the petal. If you go on the wrong side of the petal and do that, it tends to cup rather than soften. So work your paste around the cut edge, like so. And then I'm going to use my water brush to moisten each petal practically to the end. Just leave the little tip there dry, and take the dry cone and a little moisture on the end of that. Pierce the centre of the flower, and then I'm going to feed that up behind the cone and press one petal against the bud and wrap both sides tightly around so that when it's viewed from above you can no longer see the bud inside. And then every other petal, keeping them all at the same height. So miss one, place that one on, and then the final 2. It will look a little square around the base, but just press that into a nice rounded shape. And you keep those 5 petals quite tightly around that base. Then moisten the next layer. And again, nearly to the edge, not quite, about 2/3 of the way up. Pierce the centre and place that one, and then press both sides. Miss a petal, bring that one, continue around. So miss the petal and continue around. The important thing is to have everything the same height. This one and then this one. And again, because we have points around the base, you need to just press those in and then curl back the petals. Just the last 5 that you've attached onto there. To give it a little bit of shape. You can pinch them to get a little bit of movement. Now, once you're happy with the shape of that, the final layer you turn over, and this is because the petals need to fall away from the flower. So moisten across the centre, again with water, and again halfway or 2/3 of the way up each petal. Pierce the centre, slide that, and this time just flip it over, and while it's upside down, pinch around the base, and then you're going to curl back each of these little 5 petals. And that will give you a flower that size. Now to dry it, rather than have the petals folding back too much, you can have something like a cake dummy and push the rose into there so that it hangs upside down. And I would leave it like that for about an hour, and then you can take it and place it in the top ready for painting. So I've now got my number 3 paintbrush, my dark green dust colour and my alcohol, and I'm going to mix in the lid. And the nice thing about this, when you have finished painting, the alcohol will evaporate away and you can use the, just put your lid back on, you're not wasting any of the colour. So you make it into a painting solution, and the tip of the brush points towards the stick, and you press and pull, press and pull, press and pull, press and pull, turning the flower as you go. And then you can paint a little of the stick, if that's going to be seen. So I'm going to use a number 6 brush, and I'm using the dust colour dry, and I'm just going to paint or brush that into the centre of the flower just to give a little depth, not too much. And that would be ready to go on the cake.